How long will your retirement last if you stop working at age 60? There's no definitive answer, but the latest data on life expectancies can tell us a lot. So these days, retirement can last 20 to 25 years if you retire at age 60. And that's around a decade longer than a 60-year-old retiree 50 years ago. And if you're not retiring for another 10 years, you could be looking at an even longer life expectancy in retirement. And that means a 30, 40, or even 50-year retirement for some people, which is essentially a new life. So if you look at this chart, life expectancy is going to be longer and longer, especially if you're younger. That means that, you really could be looking at a whole other life by the time that you retire, especially if you retire around age 60. I'm Stephen Neely, certified financial planner with Fortress Capital Advisors, and a lot of the advice you see about preparing for longevity in retirement tends to center around working longer or maybe waiting to take your Social Security so you can maximize benefits. And those are fine strategies, but in today's video, I wanted to talk about three less obvious, but actually really important ways that you can prepare for longevity in retirement that aren't just waiting to maximize Social Security. So the first one, and this is really important, it would be retire with at least $1 billion. Kid, of course, that would solve most of your problems as far as, not running out of cash, but it's not actually realistic for the vast majority of humans. Keep playing the Powerball, right? You can't win if you don't play. All kidding aside, I think the number one thing I put here, and I put this first for a reason, is because it really does have a huge impact on retirement plans and longevity, and it's don't be too conservative with your investments. What you see a lot of is people are kind of on autopilot and they're saving away in their 401ks and they amass quite a lot of money, and then they get to retirement and they kind of freak out because all of a sudden it dawns on you like, wait a minute, I have no more capacity to save and I'm actually going to be drawing on this. And it feels really weird. You're kind of exposed all of a sudden. And people go from being pretty aggressive to being like way too conservative. And what they end up doing is, they might go from having 70% of their assets, say, in stocks, to now having like 70% of their assets in bonds. And the reality is, if you go that conservative, you actually may run out of money faster. You still need to be fairly aggressive in, well, I wouldn't say aggressive, but most people still need a portfolio that focuses on growth, at least as, one of its goals, right? You can't go to like 100% bond portfolio for the vast majority of people, or they're just going to run out of money, especially, depending on their spending needs. I'm going to show you a chart here from a sample financial plan. And so you look at this, and the one on the right is the current plan. This person's investment assumption is that the investments are earning 7% over time, which is, pretty realistic. That's not super aggressive, but it's also not super conservative. It shows they've got a 93% probability of success, and then they still have a couple $1 million left in their investment accounts at age 90 when I assume that this person passes away. The only difference on the proposed plan here is that I took the investment returns from 7% down to 4.8%, which is a pretty conservative portfolio. And now all of a sudden you see, whoa, you went from 93% probability of success to 78%. And look, they've only got $538,000 left in their accounts at the end of life. And there was only one change, right? It was that investment return. And if you look at a lot of retiree portfolios, you question, will they even get that? Ask yourself, right? Like, you have to think, even in today's environment, the 10-year bond is still only earning about 4.2%. And so the reality is you still have to take on more risk to get that higher return. And going, just lopping off a couple percent makes a huge, huge difference. You look at this person now and you're going, okay, if they live much past 90, they probably won't make it. And, this entire thing blows up. And it's a tough situation, right? This is one of the hardest things to get right, because it's sort of like you need to find this Goldilocks scenario, because You can't be way too aggressive. If you are, you also risk blowing up, especially at the beginning of your retirement, because you're drawing from your portfolio and you hit a major bear market that doesn't recover. You're going to get into this doom loop where you've withdrawn too much in your funds and your portfolio just sort of dwindles in value and you run out too fast. And if you go to the other extreme, like I just showed you, and you're too conservative, you're probably going to run out of funds at the end of your life. And so you really got to get this mix right. What I tell people is, hey, look for a bucket strategy. So you've got your cash needs met in one bucket and you've got your income coming in. So I know I've got a year's worth of my income needs coming in. And then that last part is all oriented towards growth. And then you can survive most types of bear markets or, really bad economic environments, and you're going to be okay. And eventually that will recover and you're going to capture enough growth to maintain your purchasing power without being way too conservative, like somebody that has 70 or 80% of their assets in bonds. You're going to have to think about, you need stocks, you need other investments that also do a good job of keeping up with inflation or beating it. That could be real estate. That could be gold. There are investments called managed futures. If you put all of those together in your portfolio, you're going to have a good shot at actually, maintaining your purchasing power over time and probably not, running out of assets at the end of your life. Number 2, start saving in a health savings account. That's what an HSA is. And I've made another video on these. If you really want to get into the detail of them, I suggest you look at that. But essentially what a health savings account is, if you have a high deductible health plan, it's a triple tax advantaged account where you don't pay taxes on the way in, you don't pay FICA, and then your earnings grow tax-free. And then when you use these funds for qualified medical expenses, you don't pay any taxes on the way out either. So they're really awesome, and I encourage you to look into getting them because I think it's essential for helping you, pay for healthcare costs in retirement in a tax efficient and growth oriented manner. And so I've got a couple of stats here. One, there's this Fidelity study, and they said, look, a single person age 65 is probably going to need about $157,000 to cover healthcare expenses in retirement, and that's after taxes. And then an average couple might need $315,000. So that's quite a lot of money. So if you're young, you should start saving for this now. And this type of vehicle is going to help you, maintain the rest of your purchasing power because you're not going to have to pull money from an IRA or something else that's not tax efficient in order to pay for these healthcare expenses. Another interesting fact is that by the time you're 65, there's a 70% chance that you're going to need some type of long-term care in the future. And this can be quite expensive. And it all kind of depends on the type of facility and where you live, but you could be spending thousands of dollars a month for this. For us, we bake into our plans 2 years of a long-term care event at the end of each of our clients' lives, and that would cost $68,000 a year, not including inflation, so that will go higher the older you get, and we want to make sure that you can cover that. Now, the awesome thing about an HSA is you can use your health savings account to pay for premiums for long-term care, and you can even use it to pay for long-term care facilities. So another reason for you to start saving in one now. All right. Number 3, consider a qualified longevity annuity contract. And I think this is a really, really interesting one. And full disclosure here, I don't have an insurance license. I don't typically deal in annuities because I tend to find that the trade-offs aren't worth it. And there's other ways that we can kind of solve the issues that we need to for our clients without dealing in annuities. But sometimes it does make sense. And when you're planning for longevity, these qualified longevity annuity contracts could make a lot of sense. And this is something that I've really gotten a lot of interest in lately. And let me explain to you what they are. So the qualified longevity annuity contract is something that you can fund directly from your IRA or your 401k account. Let's say maybe you're 70 years old right now. You take the money out of the IRA or 401k and you put it into this annuity contract. But that annuity contract might not start until you're age 85. So, it's kind of like a deferred annuity like that. The reason you would do that is because if you wait to age 85 to start getting income, the payouts are a lot higher. And so that's going to help protect against you living into your hundreds, say. The reason this is different than a regular deferred annuity is that you can take this up to $200,000 out of your IRA or 401k, and you're not going to pay taxes on that $200,000. So you get this huge tax savings right off the bat. And so for us, in a way, this serves two purposes, okay? I know that my clients that have, $1 million, $2 million, let's say, in their IRAs or 401ks, are going to have these huge tax bills because of required minimum distributions. Well, now I just reduce that by $200,000. Okay, so you're not paying taxes on that. Then second, we can protect against longevity risk. And so, we can cover that now, but then this is going to give them extra income later in life. It's going to help them maintain their standard of living. If you're more interested in this, hit me up in the comments and I can send you an article about the ins and outs of these. But I think they're actually pretty cool and something that everybody should consider. And if you have an advisor and they're kind of like me and they're mostly anti-annuity, this is something you still probably should put on their radar because it might actually make sense for you in your situation. So like I said, there's a lot of other ways that you can sort of attack longevity. But, I wanted to give you guys 3 sort of under the radar ways that you should be thinking about other than just working longer, which, by the way, you may not even physically be able to work longer or even have the choice if you're laid off or something like that. And so if you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe. I make videos on retirement and investing every week. So I hope you found this helpful. Take care.